All right. Good evening, everyone. I am Darshna, and I work in the capacity of an editor with Indian Journal of Artificial Intelligence and Law. And today we are having season one, episode 10 of Internationalism Global Podcast. And for today's interview, we have the team which won the second Bennett National Moot Court competition, and the team is from Christ. So before we begin the interview, I would ask the team to introduce themselves one by one. We can start with Namita.
Yeah. Hi. So I'm from Christ University. Currently in my fifth year of doing law, and yeah, that's it.
All right. We'll move to Shweta now.
Okay, hi guys. So my name is Shweta Surana and I'm from Chennai, Tamil Nadu. And yes, Namita, Karthik and I are classmates. We're all finally in our fifth year of Christ. Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Karthika, please go ahead.
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm Karthika Nair and I'm Namita and Shweta's classmates and we're all friends. And in the capacity of our Moot team, I was the researcher for the Moot.
All right, that's great. Okay, that was brilliant, guys. Thank you for your introduction. And before we formally move ahead with the interview, I think I should congratulate you for winning that competition. Although it's a bit delayed, but still, congratulations for winning that Moot Court
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's just begin. So, guys, you are in your fifth year, so you might have done a lot of moot court competitions by then. So, would you like to tell us about your moot court journey till now, from first year to fifth year, whatever moots you have participated in?
So all of us have different mooting backgrounds. Yeah,
Okay.
Karthika, go.
Okay, yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to say too. The three of us, we didn't start mooting together in the beginning. So we all had like separate moots, especially like since first year. So in our college in Christ, I'm sure you probably know that Darshna. I heard that you're also from Christ.
Yes, Christ is
So
my
yeah, so what we do is we have internal ranking rounds. So we all started off from there, and then eventually, like Namita and I, for example, we both had experiences in external moods in our third years, and then the four of us got together in fourth year, and our first external mood together was the Bennett mood. So I think Namita and Shweta could also be would be better at telling their experiences
Sure.
in mooting. Yeah.
So I've been mooting
Okay, we'll
since
move to
first
Nada
year.
then.
Yeah, I've been mooting since first year.
Okay.
I really love mooting. It's just fun. And first and second year was just learning experience. From third year onwards, I started going for external moots and entering competitions. And fourth year, we came together as one team, and we were really compatible as a team. And we entered the competition, and it was really fun. So fourth year was when we came as a team, and now we're here. Fifth, we have another moot coming.
Okay. All right. Shweta.
I think Karthik and Namita already told as much. But yeah, so due to the internal rounds from our college, so 90% of our college anyway gets into mooting, at least in inside competitions in the college itself, where you compete with the teams from college. My first external round was definitely the Bennett rounds that we went for. So that's pretty much it.
All right. So before this Bennett Moot Court competition, what kind of moots have you participated in, as in the nature of the problem of those moot court competitions?
So I think
I
I
have.
remember. Yeah, Namita.
Okay, so I have done international moots, constitutional law moots, and Bennett was my first law and technology moot,
All
and
right.
that was very interesting.
So the
All right.
moots that I have done usually are almost always revolved around constitutional law and criminal law, like procedural criminal law. So no, I mean substantive criminal law. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Shweta, you have something to add?
It's the same. So in my first and second year also, I think one of the moots were with with Karthika, the internal moots, and my moots have always been around constitutional law. So
Okay, so since all three of you come from a background of constitutional law and criminal law, what was the reason for picking up a technology moot per se? Because all of us know, we have really few domestic moots in India, which are based on the intersection of law and technology. And even I have gone through the problem. It's a very interesting sort of problem, but you don't have exactly the laws of that nature which are present in India at the moment. So, what made you take law and technology mood and get away from your core constitutional law and criminal law mood?
I think for this one, actually, so none of us ever had a particular area that we really want to. Like, we always only want to do consti, or Namita has an interest in even international. So we never really had a particular area. We're always open to any mood where we could learn. And we felt like a lot of consti would become repetitive. So that's why in the fourth year we wanted to do something different. And when you call the mood problem interesting, that's actually an understatement, because initially the three of us, we were very confused as to what all it is, because it was a completely new field for us. But I think that was the best part of the experience, because it was something very different from what we had done in 3 years.
Very true. Like when you first, yeah, when you first read the problem, it's very complicated, and you have four different main legislations. You have constitutional law, you have artificial intelligence and technology regulations, product liability regulations, criminal procedure code, and also Motor Vehicles Act suddenly in between. And then when we read it, it was very, very tangled, and it was very interesting. And we always think of, like, we take a moot, we're using a lot of resources into that mood, so we really want to make the best of it, and this was something that we could learn a lot on these four different kinds of legislations. So it really helped us to, it was, we just wanted to just learn more on this, and it was very new, very, very new.
All right, Kartika, you have something to add to it?
Yeah, so we actually got really lucky that our college provided us with such an opportunity. So they list out these moots that are coming up. And what we usually do is we have to apply for these like through college. So when we do that, the three of us, we usually like put all our options in front and we go through the problem before we apply. And we thought like this would be something really different and interesting because this is also an up and coming topic. Like smart cities had just like the whole topic and whole issue about smart cities was just coming around. So we thought this would be really interesting as compared to the other ones. So yeah, this is exactly what led us to this mood.
Okay, so from like what I gather from all of your experiences when you first read the problem, you were like a bit confused. Although you found the problem to be really interesting, but you were a bit confused. So what exactly like did you do about it? How did you decided to move ahead? As in, what was your strategy to crack the problem and begin with your
So
preparation for this mood?
So every team, while Mooting has a different strategy, some get together and research as one team, and they, from the start to the end of the memorial, they do everything together. Because of the limited time that we had and we put ourselves in, we had a different strategy. We split the issues and we researched independently. The speaker one would do issue one, I would do issue three, I'm speaker two, and then the researcher would pick any issue she was comfortable with, and we would do the
All
last
right.
issue together. So we researched independently, and then we used to come back to our teammates and fill them up on the information that we've got. So we worked faster in that way, and we like working independently. So that was one plus. So that was our strategy: independent research, and then we help our teammates to come back and accustom themselves to where we are. We also get to know like where they are at solving the problem, and that's how we did it.
Okay. So this is one strategy which you have been like sticking to since you began mooting
Yeah,
together
it's
as a team.
actually,
So,
we
Yeah,
actually
this
tell
okay.
the other mooters to use these strategies much faster.
Yeah, and one of the
All
sole
right.
reasons, like what Namita mentioned, was because the moot involved a lot of areas of law. So at the beginning itself, we knew that if we decided to do it all together, we'd just get confused because there was a lot of nuances in it, and we didn't want to dwell into all of them together. Hence, we decided it'd be better if we do it separately and then reconnect it when we reach at that road. So I think that really helped us.
Yeah, true.
All right. Okay. Kartika, you want
So
to add something to it?
yeah, so adding to that, I think personally I would say that one of the important and most basic strategy would be to just read the problem. So considering the fact that this whole problem was really like how Shweta mentioned, it had a lot of areas of law involved. It had constitutional law, it had a little bit of understanding of technology, it had understanding of criminal law. Because of that, I think I personally took some time to understand the whole problem and see what exactly is required for each issue. So that is one of the other strategies that I think is basic and extremely important at the same time.
Okay, since you're also talking about the laws involved in the problem, I think it would be really nice if one of you could just, describe the problem in brief, like in just brief.
Okay.
I think a
So
researcher should do
yeah,
it.
I'll do it. The thing, okay, so our problem starts with a safe cargo truck. So safe cargo trucks was designed by it was manufactured by a separate corporation called Inetic Corporation, and it was then operated by a different company called Small Logis Company. Now, this truck, what happened was, since it's operated by an artificial intelligence system, while it was moving into the smart city, it shifted to the AI mode, and it met with an accident. And the AI was designed to protect the freight in the ship over people. So that was how the AI was. The algorithm of the AI was organized, that it would protect the goods no matter what. And when the truck hit the smart city, it met with an accident with a school bus where about 20 children died, and the driver was completely disabled, permanently disabled. And next, they take us to the robotic cops coming into the situation, and robotic cops collect information. And they were all these robotic cops are designed in such a way that they can even identify who's culpable in that
Oh,
scenario. And there's also an central artificial intelligent traffic signaling system, which also failed to inform the AI in the truck that there was a leakage in the road, etc. And so all the CEO of the manufacturing of the safe cargo trucks, the CEO of the operator of the safe cargo trucks, the driver, an FIR was filed against all of them, and a criminal complaint was lodged by the parents of these dead children. And in the meantime, suddenly there was also a legislation introduced. The legislation was called, what was it? Yeah, smart city product liability legislation.
okay.
And this legislation was specifically designed for the problem, and it limited the product liability of the government. And the reason the central government made this legislation was because they wanted foreign direct investments and research and development in the area of AI. So if you don't limit product liability, and there is unlimited product liability, we won't get enough research development and foreign direct investments, and that will restrict our artificial intelligence and technological growth. So that's why the central government limited product liability, and they made this very vague legislation that was separately drafted just for the sake of this problem. So the problem questioned the maintainability of the suit under the Motor Vehicles Act. It questioned the maintainability of the FIRs lodged against the CEO. It also questions the constitutional validity of this artificial intelligence product liability legislation. So that was the entire problem. It involved a lot of legislation, a lot of events. It was a seven page problem. I think I summed it up, but there's still a lot of events in between that happened that we had to argue on. This was the
Okay,
base
so
facts.
all right. So since I understand you guys come from the background of constitutional law and criminal law, I can expect that you can navigate the issues of constitutional motor vehicles act and criminal law. But the question is, where did you start your research for artificial intelligence law? Like, how did you begin to research all that part of the problem? Where did you, like, what journals did you refer to? Did you speak to people in the industry or seniors who are working in this sector? How did you begin with that?
Yeah, very good question. Shweta will answer this.
So actually, the thing was, so there were four issues, and the first two primarily dealt with the jurisdiction aspect in various courts,
Okay.
and the last two one was about the criminal law as well as the artificial intelligence, and the other one was with that Smart City Product Liability Act and as such. So how whether that was constitutional or not. So because of all this, the one thing we realized at the beginning itself, one, that we were short on time, and secondly, if we had to really do it, we had to actually get a lot of resources on board and really quickly. So actually, our college has one of the best libraries that, I mean, we self-acclaim. I really like our college library. So what we did was we started going through our college library resources, the books, as well as we have offline access as well. So we tried doing that. So the thing was, with all of this happening, we were still not very sure about the artificial intelligence, the tech part of it. So that's when we
Yeah.
spoke to a couple of teachers in our college who had some experience teaching those subjects. We had a couple of electives back then. I don't remember the names, but something to do with technology. So we decided to speak to those teachers if they could get us in touch with the people in the field of work. So the teachers recommended us certain areas to look at and how we could go through. Sorry, there was the internet. Okay, so the teachers recommended a couple of areas that we could look into, and one journal which I don't remember, which I think then Kartika did find that out, and we used that in our memo as well. But I don't remember the name right now. I think Kartika would know, but
Okay.
that was mainly our thing. Like our
And
teachers in
yeah.
our library, we relied them on more. We relied more on them.
And to add to what Shweta is saying, they Karthik and Shweta are very familiar with the teachers. I'm not, but they are. So, and for me, what helped me was there's a lot of gray area in artificial intelligence, technology, and law. And there's a lot of research papers, but there's the gray areas. All these research papers
Yeah.
conclude on these gray areas, and so there's no conclusive answer for it. And I think what's best is to read a lot of articles and come to your own personal conclusion on what you think can solve the problem. That's what helped me most. Just reading a lot, and the library also provides a lot of access.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant view to have, as in you read everything that is available on a particular
Yeah.
topic, and then also like form your own opinion. Because one thing
Yes,
that Moots tests you for is how you interpret things which happen in
exactly.
day-to-day life of society. So that's really nice. Guys, just a second. I think we have lost Kartika, right? She
Yeah, she's facing
is not
some
present
internet
in the group.
issues as I am. She's just switching to a more stable
Can
one,
you
and
hear?
there she is. Yes, we can hear
Can
you,
you
Okay,
hear me
Karthik.
now?
Yeah.
Kartika, we are audible to you.
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, I
we can
can.
hear you. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
asking. All right. Yeah, so I was just asking Namita and Shweta that I'm aware that you guys must have not been having real difficulty in navigating the constitutional issues with the problem. But my main concern was that how did you tackle the artificial intelligence part of the problem? So if you would like to
Right.
like add
So
to whatever Namita and Shweta said.
yeah, so actually we got it was pretty coincidental that we got such a mood to go for, because at the same time I was part of last year I was part of the intellectual property committee of Christ, intellectual property rights committee of Christ. So we had started this value added course on law and technology with
Okay.
Center for Internet Society. So they would come and they would teach us, and it was like a proper, I think, a 4 week, a month long course, and through that, I got to understand a lot of nuances in this field, and
Yeah.
then we looked into all these articles that CIS has on artificial intelligence, and that is one of the like I heard Shweta mention about an article that
Yeah.
I
So,
used in the memo as well. Yeah, so that was one of the fields, because they had really interesting viewpoints for artificial intelligence and product liability. So that was really helpful to with respect to this meet.
okay. So now since once the problem was properly intercepted by you guys, how was your experience of the mood itself when you reached the mood? We begin with the mood code competition.
It was beautiful, like very well organized. The university meticulously planned everything. Their mooting committee was really one of the best. I think it's close to Christ. Everyone praises Christ for its punctuality in organizing events. Bennett was really good in the same way. They everything was very well organized. There was no delays. We also had a guide to help us in any issues that came up. The committee was very open to taking in our issues, any problems that we had. There was no delays. It went very smooth. It was a very great experience. Very welcoming people. It was really good.
And how was your experience with the judges? And do you remember any interesting questions in particular that were put to you by the judges?
So many, so many. So
All right.
yeah,
Questions? Yeah. Namita, go.
Yeah, the judges
no,
were
yeah.
actually right from the beginning, from our prelims, they were amazing. So usually in other competitions, what I personally notice is that the judges in the prelims or till the quarters, they would be little more lenient, or they wouldn't ask as many questions as the finals judges would. But here, I think right off the bat, we got grilled. We were asked a
Yeah.
lot of questions actually. and for every 2 3 sentences that the speakers would say, they would be asked a lot, and that we thought that we thought that they are not buying our arguments, but they were actually very interested in what we had to say and like question us more on that. Every judge we encountered had really good points to put forth. I think I don't exactly remember the questions honestly, because it was 1 year back. I probably think
Yeah.
I think Naman and Shweta will probably remember their
Yeah,
most memorable ones, but that must have tripped them.
I'll tell you mine. Very well briefed judges, very patient. They were very learned judges and they came down to our level to kind of understand what you were trying to say. So they were very well selected, very well briefed judges. And on top of that, the questions that put us off, we got very off putting questions. Like, depending on how you argue, they do put in a lot of hard questions. My most challenging question was this particular act, that is a Smart City Product Liability Regulation Act. It's an artificial intelligence product liability regulatory act. And they wanted
Yeah.
us to connect it to one of the lists in the constitution. They asked all the teams this,
Okay.
all the teams got it wrong. We were breaking our, we didn't sleep like last quarterfinals and the finals. We didn't sleep. We were like trying to think of under what list does this act come under, and we were, yeah, that was really tricky. Like to put in a
That's
fictional act into an actual constitutional law is,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what threw me off.
That's true.
Okay.
That,
Shweta,
that
what
was
about you?
definitely one. And I think, I don't remember if this was in the finals or the semis, but one of the judges, while we were arguing, he asked us not to quote landmark judges and support,
Yeah.
and at the same time support our arguments. So that definitely threw me off because it was a curve. I mean, of course, we were going to rely, and especially I think we were the petitioners, or whichever side we were, the landmark judges really supported our case. So throwing them
Okay.
off was really difficult, but that was a very on the spot thing that you got to think of other ways to argue. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's how a lawyer should also be. Should also have different things in your
Right.
arsenal. So definitely, that was one of those tricks.
All right. So, as you progressed in the competition, do you remember any feedback that was given to you by the judges, specifically related to artificial intelligence technology and the way you like tackled it in the problem or anything?
Um, wait, somebody's echoing.
Something echo. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
about
Kartika is
artificial
trying
intelligence,
to.
Shweta, go. Yeah.
I don't know why Namta's voice is echoing.
Wait, let me.
Kartika, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay. Good.
Okay, you were
Wait,
saying
I'll
something,
just
right?
mute. I'll just mute you. Okay, yeah. So, with respect to um, with respect to the like artificial intelligence particularly, I don't think we got any feedback as such, but we had really interesting conversations about that, especially with one of the like so the drafter one of the drafters of the problem. We got to interact with her at the end of the whole competition. So
Okay.
she is, her name is Swapna Sundar, and she's the CEO of an IP firm, and she's really interested in law and technology, as I mean, as you can clearly see with the problem. And with her, we had a really interesting conversation about how smart cities are coming up and their problems, and what her intention was with respect to this moot. So in that sense, that was our opportunity to actually properly discuss the law and technology aspect of this problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she
That's
had
great.
yeah, she had a very well versed intention. Like her intention was to, make everyone aware of the risks of involving artificial technology into state governance. Like she wanted to put it out, and she also said like it's very few women in artificial intelligence and technology at the top level of management, and that was also her intention. Like she wanted to bring out a lot of information with connecting state governance and including AI in them. That's what.
Darshana,
You're on mute, Darshana.
you're on mute.
My bad. Okay, so you spoke about your experience with the judges. What about the other teams? How did you find them and their arguments? And was there ever a moment when you thought, okay, even we should have included this in our memorial or in our arguments? Something like that.
Every
So
round,
many
every
times.
round.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
every round we hear them. It's like once you start mooting, like you should never stop the research like till the end of the rounds. We always
Correct.
were
That's
writing down points that the other team was telling. They were really well prepared. Campus law, especially campus law Delhi was in the finals with us, and GNLU
okay.
was also in the quarterfinals with us. They were really well prepared and very well versed. We took down a lot of notes from them.
All right. Uh,
It was actually
Kartika,
very
Shweta, you
all the teams.
yeah.
Yeah, all the teams are actually well prepared, and like I think my teammates also mentioned that even the judges, because they actually had a really good understanding of the problem and of the law in itself. So if one team was not doing so well, they were able to actually help out that team as well, while being lenient but also asking the right kind of questions. So that actually helped all the teams. Like we personally really liked the judges that actually came, and the teams were good in the sense that even, apart from them being very friendly, we could definitely learn a lot of different things from each round, which is why we spent those last 2 nights just preparing more, because we felt okay, we probably should include this also in our arguments, and this is how we can change the direction of our arguments. So those were definitely things that we picked up from the other teams.
Could you recall any of those arguments, like any one of them, which you would like to talk about?
So I don't remember the argument as such, but I do remember that one of the teams there was this female speaker, and while she was speaking, so I mean, usually our plan was to, the first speaker does the first two issues and the second speaker does the issue 3 and issue 4. But that team has changed the way how they put forward those issues so that they could save the time. So I feel like every motor would feel this. One of the main issues while moting is that you're not able to speak all of what is there in your memo. Your memo can have the best of
Yeah,
information, but putting it forward while also answering
correct.
the questions of the judges is
Yeah,
difficult.
that's true.
That team had done something where they had changed the line of their arguments and such that they answered the judge question and also handled the issues very smartly, actually. So they answered all the issues and the judge's question in a very quick format, so they didn't waste too much time, they didn't take extra time, and yet they did what was required. So that was one thing that we definitely learned of how to actually
Yeah.
connect issues.
And also,
Okay.
like we had arguments saying the act was unconstitutional, ultra virus because there was no separation of power, there was no corporate federalism. We had and there was excessive powers, administrative powers, a lot of arguments. And the thing was, they had a comeback for all of it. So we had to also, get back and put our stance forward. So they were prepared in the sense that irrespective of the points that we put, they had a comeback. They had an argument to rebuttal. I think you're on mute. You're still muted.
Yeah. So I guess that was a thoroughly learning round for you guys as a team, right? You took down a lot of notes and yeah, feedback. All right. Kartika, do you have something to add?
No, no, I don't. I don't have anything to add to this.
All right. So your final round, you reached the finals, and how was your experience of the final round, the overall experience?
Actually, I would like to start this one because our finals began, I think, 2 minutes or 3 minutes after our semis ended. Because
Oh,
our round was, yeah, because our room took the longest, I think, for semis, and we were asked to go into the next room immediately after that, like within a short period of time. And there was still some problems with the compendiums that I had to fix. So I was still doing the compendium things while standing there, just before that. So it was really hectic for us, honestly, to just jump into a side which we were actually slightly less confident about. So we got the petitioner side, I remember. Our
okay.
arguments were a lot more solid for respondent side. So this sort of, we felt like, okay, we are at some small disadvantage, but then we got, I don't know, we somehow probably convinced the judges and gave them what they wanted to hear, which we got really lucky with. But yeah, like
All right.
that was the beginning of our whole round. After that, it was smooth sailing. Once it all began, it came. It was a lot easier to put forth because we got so much practice. We doing this since 2-3 days. We just going as petitioners
Yeah.
and like doing this same thing. So yeah, that was that. I think Shweta and Namita could add to that.
So
We
actually, our
still,
biggest
yeah. Shweta, go.
So our biggest thing was like what Kartika said, we got few seconds barely. So we were in the hall, there's the audience there, the judges are coming, and we're just sitting there trying to learn everything before we go. But during the rounds, we somehow, I mean, now you don't have any choice. Now you're there. Now you've got to start your arguments. So I think at that
Yeah.
time the judges were also very understanding, and they were not lenient. They had a lot of questions, which is why we thought that this round is totally gone, because the other team was very well prepared and the judges were really good, and they actually kept grilling us. Like the finals round is one of those rounds that I remember, because they kept grilling us and I was like, okay, you know what, we've lost this is gone. But the thing was, like, even the way they were asking questions, the judges had a balance of how, if one judge was going to grill you and ask you a difficult question, the other judge would still let you have some time for you to answer, figure out that answer. And of course, like if a question was asked to me, Namita and Kartika would be ready to help me out with passing chits and stuff. So I think that way it was very smooth, because the organization of the event really matters, because at that time in the finals everything happened smoothly. So we were a bit calmer because okay, now we're there, now we're going to do it. So that helped us calm our nerves a lot.
Okay.
The
That's good.
final rounds, I can't even think. It was worst. We were not prepared for petition. We had like still a lot of research left on the petitioner side, and we knew where we were wrong. Like that was the thing. We knew what they were going to ask, but we didn't have the answer for it. And one judge was really, really strict. Like he was like a no nonsense. I just want the answer. Don't take me around. Just tell me yes or no. That's it. So it was very scary. And then there are like at least 50, 60 people sitting behind just watching us getting grilled. There's a picture of me just going like, I knew we are dead. We were really getting roasted in the final rounds. And yeah, very, very, very hard questions on artificial intelligence technology, and we had asking us to connect it to constitution, and asking us where in the constitution it says what we are saying. And they didn't want any of our landmark judgments. They told us on the face like, we don't care. We know our landmark judgments are very pretty, and they are judgments that all the people it's benefit for the greater people. It's just like a pretty judgment written by best judges. We want something more substantial. And it was very, very scary. And I don't know
Like,
we really don't know.
so since you mentioned you were put through a lot of like tough questions, and like if you can recall any of those questions related to artificial intelligence and law.
Yeah, the one that I said, like which list, I think to this day we
Okay,
don't know
that's
which list. And there was, yeah, there and there was, yeah, there was that list question. And what else did they ask us? They asked us so many things. Everything that we said they asked us.
I
They were
think the
like,
list
how,
question was
yeah.
the most difficult, because that was one thing that none of the teams knew. And that was one thing that everybody kept on discussing. And we did ask the judges later. So now we have no answer. Can you give us the answer? And they
Yeah,
did give us the answer. But
they
yeah, that,
also,
that was,
yeah,
I think, the most difficult question, because like the purpose of the competition was to make us realize that artificial intelligence and
Yeah.
technology is not that equipped in our laws of India right now.
Correct.
And if
Yeah.
something
yeah.
like that happens, then how are you going to deal with it? So like we
And
obviously
when,
know, if
yeah.
laws to come out, some list has to have a backing. Either the state government or the central government is going to make that law. But what is that backing to make that law? So I think that was the
Yeah,
entire. So that was a really central idea base of the mood. So that was one
yeah.
thing that was actually very
And
difficult.
when we said artificial intelligence liability must not be limited, we were arguing saying that limited liability does not provide benefit for greater community. If there's an
Yeah.
accident that costs more and you're losing lives over here because of technology and machines, how are you going to compensate? We were saying that the government cannot compensate for loss of life by a machine. And they said, like, give us suggestions, then what are we supposed to do? We have to grow both. We have to develop
Yeah.
technology. At the same time, we also have to protect the fundamental rights of people. And they put us in that position where we have to support artificial intelligence along with fundamental rights. So we had to come up and argue and say that, yeah, that is also there. There needs to be a balance between fundamental rights, state government governance, and technology law. But at the same time, you have to prioritize human life over technological errors that can happen because of unproperly programmed algorithms. So it's a lot to tell.
Correct. Yeah, I think the whole point of this moot court competition and the moot problem specifically was to make all the teams think about the possibilities that come with artificial intelligence and how are you going to manage those possibilities while also protecting your fundamental rights and
Exactly.
various other. So
Exactly.
yeah,
All
it
the
made you
ethical
think on all.
issues, all the ethical issues, all the gray areas of AI, all the legal issues. They don't have a regulatory framework.
Yeah,
Identity issues. There's no liability. What about other legislations that have to be amended? So many, so many. Yeah.
yeah. So I think the moot did a brilliant job in making you think about all the possibilities that are connected to the
Very,
AI,
very
right?
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
because the way
very well
AI is
advanced.
in India, I think we require all the amendments in all these law and policy papers which talk about how artificial intelligence will be working out in India, right? All right. So,
Very,
guys,
very
what
true.
was
We
your
need
takeaway
more.
from this moot? Yeah. So, what was your biggest takeaway from this moot? Since this was your first tech in law moot, did you have any significant
Was
takeaways?
Yeah, my biggest takeaway was this team really works for competition. So I was like, I'm gonna stick to this team now. But yeah, but other than that, also one of the biggest takeaways was like during the mode court rounds. So one of the things in the problem was that even though it focused on tech, it also had a lot of quantity. So due to paucity
Yeah.
of the time, a lot of the rounds, the judges were not entirely able to focus only on the tech part. So there was very less like importance was given to both tech and quantity. So we could not have
Hmm.
gone into a discussion on technology aspect as such. But after the rounds and after the valedictory, I think we got a chance, like Karthika mentioned, to sit with the one of the drafters of the problem, Miss Swapna ma'am. So at that time, we got to learn a lot more about the field of technology because I, as like personally speaking, I never really had a keen interest in this. The three of us,
Hmm.
I know we were open to anything that would come our way, like we were ready to learn, but I had no particular keen interest. But while discussing with her, we really like she opened a lot of new aspects, and she even gave a speech. So I mean, you should definitely ask Bennett if they have a recording of that speech or not, because that really talks a lot about how the interference of technology is very important. It's a fact that we can't, I mean, even right now it's happening through technology as
Correct.
such.
Yeah.
Technology is going to
Yeah.
keep advancing, and we know how AI has come even into the field of law. So that was one thing
Yes.
that we have to be prepared for, and I feel where our law is lacking. So she gave us a lot
Hmm.
of different idea, and she also spoke about this particular incident. I think that happened in Uttar Pradesh or in Delhi, based on which the problem was actually based on. So that was something that not many of us knew about. So she said it was a
Hmm.
small incident that happened. So the Smart City Act was something that she created out of that. So those are some things that we learned out of it, and how what a big role technology actually has to play, and we really need to focus on that, which we hadn't before. So that was one of my
Yeah.
biggest takeaways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I know about that incident, but there are already self-driving cars which are there
Yes,
outside the country. They're already like making programs on how to launch such cars. So it's
that's
definitely an
true.
impending problem, and you have to deal with it in future.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
yeah,
It's coming to
Kartika,
India soon. Tesla's already
yeah,
started. I mean, gone
yeah.
on it.
Kartika and Amita, you have to add something to it.
Yeah, so I would say that in terms of law, my biggest takeaway from this mood would be that it's a very wide subject. Law and technology is not just specific to artificial intelligence. In fact, I think my interest in this subject has like increased a lot more after we studied competition law, because I started studying on how technology and competition law are interlinked, and how it is a it's a problem that's coming up, with all these big tech companies trying
Yeah.
to take over,
Hmm.
yeah, in the competition law arena. So that was that. Apart from that, personally, I would say that what my another like my biggest takeaway from this moot was that despite if a problem looks really complicated, if you just give it time and if you just read through it, then at the end of the day you'll feel like, oh my god, this is so simple, this is so easy to actually go about. And also to find to find a team which has the same way of working and same wavelength and understanding and being on the same page is extremely important. So, your 5 years you probably take to find the perfect team. You're lucky if you get it in the first year. But yeah,
Yes,
teamwork is
I agree with
definitely
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
teamwork
My
is definitely.
biggest, yeah, that's very true. And yeah, it's very rare also. But yeah, so my biggest takeaway was so this particular problem helped us understand the relationship between artificial intelligence and state governance, where we stand versus where we want to be in terms of economic development, urbanization, etc. And it brings to light all these gray areas in AI that needs to be resolved, and incorporating them in smart cities and economic development is necessary, but at the same time we have to maintain constitutional integrity with respect to development policies framed by the government. So it brings a lot of issues and helps us actually learn a lot with respect to new ideas and where we want to be, where India has to be. Hmm.
So I believe the drafter of this problem was in and out successful in putting across her point with
Very.
this problem.
She was really good. She was actually very inspiring, very one of very few
Yeah.
people at the top management level. So we really took a lot of inspiration from her, and she was really encouraging more females into artificial intelligence technology, etc. That was also one of her main aim.
I'm pretty sure she must be really happy to see an all-girl team winning this with good
Yeah.
Yeah,
competition.
that is actually something she also mentioned when we spoke to her, that this was one of her intentions, and she was telling about her experience about how when she would go to these conferences which involved technology, she would probably be the only woman there, or one of the very few women involved in this field. So
That's
she was definitely very encouraging of us to get into this field of law.
all right. That's great, guys. It definitely the mood problem I can see definitely made you think about a lot of things related to AI and all. So you guys mentioned you're in your fifth year, right? So you must be busy also thinking about what you plan to do in future. By any chance, do you guys have developed any inclination towards technology and law and are thinking of pursuing a career in it?
Yeah, it's
Hello.
very, very interesting. And I am really open to anything. And there's so many areas in law and technology. It can be law and international law and technology and international law, and then it can be law and technology versus human rights. So I think I'm more open to law and technology and human rights issues. It would, yeah, it'd be very interesting. But we are really open to learning anything.
All right. What about you, Shweta and Kartika?
I don't really see myself doing anything in law and technology as of right now.
Okay. All
So
right.
my interest in technology with respect to law is in intellectual property and competition law. So I would love to pursue that and get more understanding of this, maybe hopefully through more internships and job opportunities. That would be great. Yeah, but this is the area of law that I'm interested in.
That's great. All right. So you guys, at least the two of you definitely have developed some interest in technology and law and are thinking of pursuing a career in it, right? That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, to sum up the interview, I just have this one last question. So the problem is definitely the mood problem that you had is definitely something that can happen in future, right? There's a definite possibility of it happening in future. So in future, how do you imagine dealing with such issues? Like in Namita and Kartika are definitely interested in a career in tech and law. So in future, if you become people who have had a lot of growth in this particular field, how do you like tackle this problem in first, like what policy changes that you would be willing to introduce in our already available acts, or like how would you, if you are a judge, how would you be judging this whole problem per se?
So that's what, like, currently where we stand, we do have a planning commission that is going for smart city mission. Like by 2030, they
Yeah.
want a smart city mission. And where we are at that smart city mission, it's just they aim for a core infrastructural development, and this just means adequate water supply, a proper solid waste management, and transportation, just basic needs that aim to uplift the quality of life of urban citizens. That's where we stand
Yeah,
right now. And in the problem, you can see robotic cops, smart buildings,
correct.
central artificial intelligence systems, which is so it's very well advanced compared to where India stands. We're still trying to give clean drinking water to people. So I feel we are still very far away to achieving what the problem has, and we still have to fill up not just on financial and economic resources. There's also a lot of legislative gap. There's a lack of regulatory
Yeah.
framework for so many things, and AI has entered into every sector, and there's barely a proper legislative framework. So we still have a lot to catch up on, and to maintain that while protecting fundamental rights of citizens and also economic and sustainable development would currently be a challenge for us. We are still trying to give everybody basic necessities, basic needs. So I feel like we will reach there. There's no doubt in that. But we still require a lot of financial resources, lot of planning and research and regulatory framework that needs to catch up to reach there. That's what I feel.
All right. Since you mentioned that India is still thinking about how to tackle its problem of providing clean drinking water to everybody, do you think AI can be like a solution to all such problems? Like, if we don't talk about intelligent signaling systems or traffic systems, but we can like include AI for tackling the first-hand problems that we face as Indians, like clean drinking water, right? So, do you
Yeah.
think that can be a
And
viable solution?
And that's the thing. We can use AIs to fill in and help us, but then human resources would lose their opportunities. Many people would, they would take up livelihood and employments of many people, and that would also be an issue. So there's no issue in AI would be much more efficient, and they would surpass any human capabilities. I have no doubt in that. But if we do, I would be totally for it if there is the financial resources that AI would take up and provide basic necessities that common Indian citizens need. We would be all up for it, like food, water, shelter. If they do come to that level, it would be very beneficial. But at the same time, as I was saying, people still need an opportunity and their fundamental rights be protected. Like they need jobs, they need employment, they need livelihood. Economic development and human beings fundamental rights both must be balanced. I hope that happens. I'm really rooting for it.
Yeah, Namita, that's a very valid point because one of the biggest concerns with AI is that it replaces
Yeah,
humans,
exactly.
right? Machines replace
Exactly. That
humans.
would be, yeah,
That's a
very
very
true,
valid
very
point.
true.
Shweta?
Yeah, for personally, I feel like we should. I mean, I feel like India as a country, we've gone through a lot of phases. Like from the phase of being the golden bird, we've actually progressed a lot. And definitely, artificial intelligence is something that it's not going to stop. I mean, even the government as such would be adopting a very proactive approach to, include AI. But I feel before all of that starts, we really need to amend our laws because problems would be there in anything that you do, whether you do include AI or not. We're going to have problems for both the field. But the thing is, I feel personally that it's better to include AI, but also before you do that, we really need to amend our laws. Because, and I personally feel that the sole reason the law is more important is because you know who to place the liability on, and that was the product liability aspect was one of the
True.
major areas in our paper. So if the government is not equipped to handle any of that situation, then it wouldn't make sense to make any progress because issues would be faced either way. So I think we really need to sort out the law aspect first.
Yeah, right. Kartika?
Yeah, actually, my point was very similar to Shweta's as well about how product liability, like we got to learn a lot about product liability through this Moot, and artificial intelligence and product liability, I feel like go hand in hand because we need if when we have situations like this as what is in the Moot problem, we need someone to hold accountable for. Right, and
Yeah.
we have a lot of theories with respect to product liability, like the most closest person, the most closest organization should be held liable, and such kind of theories, right? So I feel like we have to first settle down on one such theory or one way to tackle such problems, and then maybe allow for more, investment and development in this field. So I feel like science and technology should go hand in hand with law. Whereas right now, what the problem is law is lacking behind. It's
Correct.
catching up to it's catching up to technology rather than walking with it. So that is
Correct.
something that
Yeah.
has to be
Yeah, I think one reason that law lags
Yeah,
behind is because technology is changing at a very fast
very
pace.
fast.
Like you have some new technological development coming in every week or maybe every month or probably in next 2 days. So law is not able to
Exactly.
keep up with it. And that's something which I think Indian laws will have to work upon, on keeping up on the ever
I
changing technology.
yeah. I just have one question for the host because you are so well versed with AI and technology and law. Like you have more experience than us. Like, what would you say? Is it human rights that's necessary or artificial intelligence? Which would prevail? Like for you, like personally, what would you choose? Human rights over artificial intelligence development, or vice versa?
I think the question is not about choosing what over what. I think what is important is having a balanced approach because, frankly,
True.
technology is required by us. Like all these
Yeah,
medicines, the way we have handled this whole pandemic, it's because of the technology that we
yeah,
have in the medical industry right now. So, technology is
very
a
true.
requirement we cannot, get away with. But at the same times, we also have important human rights issue which we should also be concerned about. So I think the whole world together needs to have that balanced approach. Ki, okay, we
Balance.
have to grow as a world when it
Yeah,
comes to technology, but also maintain the sanctity of the human life. That's what
correct.
I personally
There
because
has to always
prioritizing one over other, I do not feel would make sense
Yeah,
for
very
either.
true. It would like make economic development stagnant. Like there's always have to be a balance. Where yeah, even I feel
Yeah.
the same way. Correct.
All right, guys. So it was brilliant talking to the whole team, and thank you for taking out this time to speak to me. And yes, I'm so proud that two of you are thinking of a career in tech and law. That's great because we do need like females in this particular arena, right? So once again, congratulations for winning this competition, and all the best for your future move. You mentioned in the beginning, right? You're preparing for
Yeah.
another move, right?
Thank you
So
Yes.
all
so
the best
much.
for
So
that.
much.
Yeah,
Thank you
and
so
all the
much. It
best
was
for that.
so yeah, it was like I think it was an honor getting interviewed by someone at least.
I think the
It
honor
was
is
really
also
such a
for
great
us.
opportunity. And yeah, it was such a great opportunity. Thank you so much for this.
Oh,
Actually,
you're welcome.
I'd like to know your initiative. Like, how did you begin with this whole concept of interviewing moots with law and technology as the problem?
Okay, so this is something which we picked because we thought it was important to know of what students think about whatever the developments that are happening in artificial intelligence and law, right? And we researched about the moves that have taken place, whose problem had a base in the intersection of technology and law. So that's what like we thought it could be like a good initiative to know where the students stand, what are they aware of when it comes to artificial intelligence. Now it would be really great to hear their views about how this technology should progress in future because you are the people who will be tomorrow's like leaders who will be bringing new policies, who will be working in these industries. So that's how this initiative came into us. That's
That's
how.
actually very nice. It's
Very good.
actually very
Thank you. Thank
that's
you for
actually a very
actually
good
having this.
motive.
Yeah.
That's actually a very good
Yeah.
motive.
All
It's
right. Thank you
actually,
guys so much.
yeah.
It was
Thank
Thank
you
you
brilliant
so
for
talking.
much for
us
this
in this
opportunity.
session.
Really,
And
thank
all right. And all the best for your careers also, right?
Thank you. You
Thank
too.
you. Thank you so
All the best
much.
to you.